Hey, we're back. Coon Prairie Ramblers. Well, yeah, we're a confabulating mind mander. We got KC. We got Dangerous Dave, better known in for the Lukester. And we got me, the amiable, affable mailman. And we got Yeti behind the screen there. And she just waved. And and we were talking about the coal countries of Virginia. And Dangerous Dave says he's got something to tell us about that.
Coming up, I've always been the type of person, I like to listen to the stories of the older folks. You know, my grandmother and my grandfather, all the stories they told. And this was a story that I was told about my grandmother. It was perpetrated to be true, and I believed it. My grandmother was a little bitty woman. She probably weighed about 98 pounds soaking wet. Going through the Depression, my grandfather worked for the railroad. And what he would do is he had an area of track. He would spend so many days walking up the track. He'd stay at his shanty and then walk back. He cleaned the track, made sure the track was. So a lot of times it was my grandmother at home alone with just her two sons, my Uncle Wesley and my father. And this is, in the heart of Depression. There wasn't no money and things were tight. When wintertime came, they needed coal to keep warm. Well, right there, they lived in an area called Knuckles Holler, which was named after my family.
Wow.
And the train came through there, carrying the coal. It had to go up the mountain. So my grandmother...
Which was next to Petticoat Junction.
I don't know about Petticoat Junction, but there was a lot of areas back there. I mean, even I remember as a kid going up there, people living in tar paper shanties and things of that nature.
They had the pipe sunshine in, didn't they?
There you go. Anyways, during the Depression, they needed the coal to try and warm up the little shanty that they had. They had a little railroad shanty. And what my grandmother would do, of course, my father and my uncle, they were about 5 and 6, respectively. She'd give each a sack and have them follow her. And she would run and catch the train before it made the hill. While it was moving slow, it had to go slow up the hill. And she would jump up on the back of the train, climb up to the top of the coal car. And as fast as she could, she would kick the coal off the car.
Wow.
Because by the time the train reached the top of the hill and the engine goes over to the side, it picks up too much speed.
Yeah.
So she rode the car up. When it got close to the top, she'd jump off.
Yeah.
And then she would walk back with the boys, and they'd fill them sacks up with coal, and that's the way they'd heat the house.
Holy cow. Man, that's Depression.
Oh, it was rough.
That was the Depression years, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I never heard any stories like that in my family, but my mom told me a lot of Depression stories. Of course, she had to drop out of school, which was, a terrible thing for her because she loved education and she wanted to, have an education, but she had to drop out in her 11th grade or something like that to go to work. And she went to work for it was getting close to the wartime, and she's, working for the war factories and stuff like that. But you know what? When she finally retired at the age of 70, she went and got her GED, and that was one of the most, the greatest milestone in her life, or something like, getting her GED. She was so proud of that she finally finished school after the age of 70.
She had to put in a gold frame set right there on the mantle for everybody to see, I imagine.
Yeah.
That is pretty good.
So you never got to carry any of that coal yourself, huh?
No,
I can't Miami.
Say. I used to go up to West Virginia and visit the folks, and they had a coal cellar. And my grandfather, I got to laugh at him today. He was one of them fellas that he drank homebrew and White Lightning. He drank. I've seen him sit at the breakfast table. My grandmother would bring him an egg.
Yeah.
And it would just be floating in bacon grease.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, why didn't Granny dry some of that grease off of it? Then he would go after breakfast was over with, and the grease had cooled. He'd pour it into a coffee cup and he'd sip it and drink it.
What?
Now, my grandfather lived to be 102 years old.
He's well lubricated.
Yeah, he shoveled snow in the winter. He mowed grass in the summer.
Yeah.
Was never sick. So it's like they talk about today about diets and how bad grease and cholesterol, pork.
Whoa.
It didn't show for him, that's for sure.
I think it's the chemicals that get you.
Yeah, the new stuff that they put in there. Yeah, I remember going to a rest home one time, and there was this old man standing there smoking a cigarette, and he was blowing the smoke in my face, and I said, you know what? I said, that stuff's going to kill you. He says, I'm 96 years old. They ain't killed me yet.
That's like that song at Little Bottles where the guy's pouring out the bottles of whiskey, found except for that last sip. Yeah. He was talking about his uncle that drank moonshine every day.
Yeah.
Said he lived to be 103.
Yeah.
He said they dug him up last week. He looked better than a lot of the people out there in the audience. They all pickled. So.
Oh, man. Oh.
But I remember, you talking about coal, and I remember my grandfather, they had a little coal burner stove, and of course he'd go down and get a bucket of coal out of the coal cellar, and he'd be feeding the coal in there and have the house so hot. I mean, you walk in, it was 95 degrees.
Yeah.
He'd be wiping sweat, and of course his hands where he'd been handling the coal, he had black smudges all over his face. It's like, Pop, they got central air and heating these days. You ain't got to do it that way anymore. But that house he lived in, I don't think it changed any from, well, I think he had it in 1942, and I don't believe it changed. I don't think it got indoor plumbing until after the 70s came.
And I was a kid that went to Nocatee. We had wood-burning stoves for heat, pot-bellied wood, and they had a big old pile of wood out back, and we'd have to go out there and get it. And so one of the boys, one of us, would always have to go back there. And, I mean, I was more than ready to do it. If it was anything to get me out of the classroom, I mean, I'd go and chop wood all day long instead of being in the class, but we'd bring it in there, and if you sat close to that stove, it would burn you up.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you was on the opposite side of the room, you'd freeze to death. There was no happy temperature in there. I mean, it was either burn up or freeze to death.
Yeah, in those old homes up where I came from, it was heated by the coal stove, the potbelly stove. If you couldn't get too close to it because it'd be really hot. But if you back up and got next to one of the walls, you could feel the cold on the walls, so you'd have to find the happy medium somewhere in that room. You say, okay, this room will put my chair.
Yeah,
the backside would be cold, and the front would be warm.
As kids would back up to that wood stove, they'd back up, whatever a couple distance was to warm up their backside. Yeah. And, people like me, we always had to run up there and you grab the front of their pants and pull it up against their legs, and they'd holler because the back of their pants would be on fire.
And that was in Florida, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. I guess winter is winter, huh?
Yeah, cold is cold.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what? Weather has changed quite a bit. I talked to some of the older folks like I used to talk to them, and I know a lady named Mabel Trueshaw, and she was born in Michigan, and she told me about her life growing up as a kid there in Michigan. And she said that she can remember it snowing at least one day in every month of the year, including July, August, and September in Michigan when she was a child. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't do that anymore. Same way about the wet and dry season down here. My grandmother told me, this is my mother's mother. She grew up here in Florida. And she told me, she said that every day in Florida, about 4 o'clock, you get a little thunder shower, cool things down. This was winter and summer. There was no dry and wet season like there is now. Yeah. Just every day you got that thunder shower, but because we've cut down the trees and built so much.
Well, that's how it was when I first moved to Florida in '81. I was amazed at how it rained a little bit every afternoon. I'm thinking, isn't that something?
I do what amazes me is when you get a pure out thunderstorm in the summer. Yeah. How much it drops the temperature. I mean, it is amazing. You can watch that thermometer drop from about 95 down to below 80s in just seconds.
I always, when I came down here, I went to work doing construction, and I was always amazed how the people who were from down here, they'd show up at work in the morning with a jacket, And I'm thinking, and I showed up with a T-shirt, and she kept a T-shirt, but they would have a jacket in the morning.
Yeah, you learn how to layer clothes in Florida.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time here again, so we'll be back in a few minutes with Coon Prairie Ramblers.
I'm getting hungry.